Hello again, my brothers and sisters, and welcome to another edition of Off the Beaten Path, paranormal show about paranormal events in history and paranormal events in modern day time, and how these events or sometimes things have shaped our society, believe it or not. I'm your host, as always, Reverend Hagen. What a pleasure it is to do these shows for you. I can't tell you how much I dig it. Today's show is going to be on zombies, dun, 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 of all things. But before I do that, before we get into zombies, I'm going to do a couple of shout outs for myself. DNGNradio.com, The Dungeon, has picked up not just this show, Off the Beaten Path will start about March 21st, around the solstice. We're slated for 6 shows with these guys. We're very excited. If you just can't wait till March, well, you should go over and check them out anyway. But if you just can't wait till March to catch me on dngnradio.com, The Dungeon, I am actually doing Reverend Hagen's Horrific Cinematic Dissection, where I review horror movies, and it's really a hoot. So please check that out. The radio show, the horror movie review, airs at 12:55 a.m., and 4:55 p.m. Those are Eastern Standard Times. That's 12:55 a.m., 4:55 p.m. Or you can listen to it anytime you want on SoundCloud station, which is on their site. But I digress. We are here to talk about zombies, not Hagen. Let's talk about zombies. But before we do, we're actually going to talk about Hagen for just a couple minutes here. My first introduction to zombies was a book called Voodoo Contra by Robert Gover. At the time, I was kind of on a spiritual quest. I really wanted a spiritual path in my life, but the Abrahamic religions really didn't jive with me. I'm glad they do for literally billions of other people, and they do, and they help them out, and they do wonderful things with their life because of it. But it's just not my brand of vodka spiritually, if I'm being painfully honest with you. Never made a lot of sense to me, but I know it does to a lot of people, and I'm not downing it in any way, shape, or form. Anywho's, I got a hold of this book, and it was fascinating about a guy's indoctrination into voodoo. Now, voodoo, according to Voodoo Contra, literally meant God. The word voodoo meant God. It doesn't for apparently everybody, because when you look it up online, that's not the case. They actually say zombies are the word for God, but they also have a lot of gods. The actual creator god is Dambala Wedu, and I happen to have his veve, or his mark, his veve, on my hand here. I also have Papa Legba on this shoulder, and Agwe on this shoulder. Now, Papa Legba is like St. Peter's. He's the gatekeeper, the guy who decides whether or not you can go in or not, or other things can come into this realm, if you will. And Agwe is the law of, or the god of sea travel. It's depicted by a little sea boat with, little flags and stuff, an anchor, the whole 9 yards. It's about safe voyage. You would make offerings for a safe voyage or a passage. And that's why I have all three. All three actually tie in together. Dambala Wedu, who is the creator, Papa Legba, who's the gatekeeper, and Agwe, who's about the journey, specifically sea journeys. But for me, water and spirituality are very closely tied. I actually have tattoos all over the place. And other than the tattoos for my children, they're all protection symbols from different cultures around the planet. Got them on my back, my legs, kind of covered. And the reason that I have these is that, you just, not to quote Clive Barker, and I don't often do, but to quote Clive Barker, you can't have too many saviors. In certain situations that I've gone into, these protection tattoos and symbols that I have on my body, have been invaluable, let me tell you. So, that was my introduction into voodoo, was that particular book. It's a great book if you're just looking for a short read. It's not real long. really gives you some good insights. Now, in voodoo, there are what the Western culture would call bad priests and good priests. The good priests are Hugans, not Hagans, but Hugans, which is a male voodoo priest, or Mambos, which is a female voodoo priest. There's also the other side of the coin, the Bakurs, who are more sorcerers, and they go for the quick fix, the quick energy, tapping into ley lines, anything that can get the job done. But they're very selfish. That's why they're not considered priests or priestesses. They're not really doing stuff for the communal good. They're doing stuff for their own good. And they can be some pretty heavy, dark characters. I've met 2 Bakurs on the West Coast, a couple of Hunguns, and one Mambu. But for the most part, I've dealt with the Bakurs because I've wanted to know how to lift a curse or a hex, or is this your doing that these people are having these problems? A little esoteric, I know. Probably more information than you need to know. But let's get into voodoos. Zombie voodoos. It's been that kind of week, people. Now, history tells us that zombies go back to the 8th century. I'll read what I found here on one page. It said the word zombie is said to have come from Nzambi, which is in Congo means spirit of a dead person, or zombi, used by the Louisiana Creole and the Haitian Creole, that represent a person who died and then came back to life. Without speech, though, or free will. That's the whole gig. Somebody dies, maybe the Bakur in question actually has a hand in their death, but he brings them back as a slave, as a spiritual slave. They can't speak and they have no free will of their own. So whatever the Bakur wants to do with this zombie, he's going to do. He's a Bakur. What can you do? Okay, the Bakurs, they call the voodoo priests here, but I think that's stretching things a little bit. With the application of black magic, possess the ability to resurrect a deceased to the animation or coupadre is a powder that is used orally, the primary ingredient of which is tetrodotoxin, the deadly substance of the notorious poison fowl, or let's just call it porcupine fish. According to legend, the zombie is someone who is annoyed. Listen to this. Someone who's annoyed their family or community so much that they can't stand to live with this person anymore. And they respond by hiring a Bakur to turn them into zombies. Okay, now that's one explanation for it. But then I went to Zombiepedia.com. That's a thing. Zombiepedia.com. Everything zombie you'd ever want to know. Neat resource if that's what you're into. Hello. Very off the wall to me. It just blows me away that the living dead have become so popular, and that fighting the zombie apocalypse is a thing that people are preparing for. I mean, people are actually preparing for the zombie apocalypse. We'll get into that in a second. We'll get into George Romero, but one of the big deals is, according to the tenets of voodoo, a person can be revived by a Bakur or voodoo sorcerer. Zombies remain under the control since they have no will of their own. In 1937, while researching folklore in Haiti, Zora Neale Houston encountered the case of Felicia Felix Mentor, who had died and been buried in 1907, at the age of 29. Villagers believe they saw Felicia wandering the streets in a daze 30 years after her death. 30 years, as well as claiming the same with several other people. Houston pursued the rumors that the affected person were given powerful drugs, but she was unable to locate. After interviewing a bunch of people, she wrote, "What is more, if science ever gets to the bottom of voodoo in Haiti and Africa, it will be found that some important medical secrets, still unknown to medical science, give it its power, rather than the gestures or the ceremony. So her theory was that it was all the different herbs and things that they were using to create this powder that created that particular form of zombie, the voodoo form of zombie. Now, a few decades later, Wade Davis, a Canadian ethnobotanist, presented his pharmacological case for this in two books. One became a movie. The Serpent and the Rainbow in 1985, and Passage into Darkness, the Ethnobiology of the Haitian Zombie in 1988. This guy traveled to Haiti, went into the scene, supposedly found the key ingredient was tetrodotoxin. I'm so bad with this stuff. I blame my dyslexia on the whole thing, but you never know. I could just be mental. The tetrodotoxin is the same toxin found in the Japanese delicacy fugu or pufferfish. So it is that pufferfish that if you eat it, you have a chance of dying if they don't prepare it just right. But it's those toxins that he believed caused the zombie effect in voodoo practitioners. That it wasn't this Bakur doing his, juju. It was actually it was the pharmacological agent that did this. He gave a lot of credence to the previous claim by Clavarus Narisia, who claimed to have succumbed to this practice. There remains a lot of skepticism, basically, is what this says. I know I shouldn't be reading this stuff on here. I should just know these things right here. But I think it's too simplistic, personally, it's not just the chemicals. I don't know if you've ever taken hallucinogens. Of course, I never have. But I've heard that it's very easy to have a bad trip. What they say, if you're in a bad place emotionally, the whole 9 yards, you can kind of go off the deep end on that. But if there's somebody who guides you through the experience, it can literally be a transformative spiritual experience for some. So for me, I don't think it is just the drug here. I think it's a combination of the powders and the herbs that they use, and some of their practices. I believe that very strongly. Let's see. We've talked about the Dabala. Okay, so that's pretty much what we know of of zombies. When it comes to voodoo, that they're created. One source says by the village. You better be nice in these villages, apparently, because if you're too much of a nuisance, if you're a pain in the butt, if you're just so toxic that people don't want to deal with you, they'll hire a Bakur and they'll make a zombie out of you, and then you'll do whatever they say. I think the more popular version of that is the Bakur's a bad guy. He wants a slave, so he's going to make a zombie. And there are documented cases of zombieism. In the Caribbean and in Haiti and in Louisiana, if you believe some of this stuff. After talking to a couple of Bakurs, yeah, I'll buy it. I got to be honest, I'll buy it. But that has nothing to do with I think the zombies that everybody wants to talk about. The zombies that George Romero pretty much created in Night of the Living Dead. Then he had Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead. Then there's so many zombie movies, it's ridiculous. The Zombie Apocalypse, Zombieland, World War Z. God, I could go on. Even to a certain extent, although they were possessed by demons. The Evil Dead series had pretty much The Walking Dead, although zombies are more, The zombies in these movies, primarily, there's been a pandemic of some kind, right? Some disease has wiped out most of humanity, and the ones that did die are reanimated. And they're just driven by whatever need they have, and it's pretty much the need to eat. Their bodies do decay, but they're still going. They're still driven by this primal need just to consume and do their thing. The one of the best ones explaining that is 24 Days Later, which is an English zombie movie that came out a few years back when I was still in the Army, actually. And if you get the DVD, they go in great detail about the next pandemic. So which was really weird to have at the end of a zombie movie, because they did approach it a little differently in the movie. The zombieism, it was straight disease. It wasn't, a nuclear thing or anything weird like that. And they were looking for a cure. They were looking to control the zombies, possibly, that were affected, the people that were affected by this pandemic. But with all the stuff at the end, where they actually have scientists talking about pandemic, you got the impression they were really trying to lead you to, this is a possible thing. The whole eating the dead flesh thing, I don't know. Sure, why not? It makes for great cinema, though, which is really where it was born. And, of course, The Walking Dead really brought zombies into mainstream popular culture, where instead of watching Night of the Living Dead on Creature Features Friday night in the 70s, right? Now it's on every Sunday night. Great acting, phenomenal writing in that show. And it really it stops being about the zombies and more about humanity, which I guess is what they're all trying to do. But The Walking Dead really did it. So much so that, there's bumper stickers waiting for the zombie apocalypse. Now, the stickers and that kind of thing are very tongue-in-cheek. It's like Zombie Hunter Mobile, I think, is one of them. But there are subcultures of America, and probably around the world, that are literally preparing for the zombie apocalypse. Do you hear what I'm saying? They are literally preparing for the zombie apocalypse. Yeah. Pretty crazy to me. I never got it. The modern day zombie deal really scared me as a kid, especially Night of the Living Dead scared the crap out of me. But as I got older, it kind of one after the other when the zombie movies were coming out, real popular in the 80s again, and then back in the 90s, and then of course back in 2000s again. Zombies just won't go away. I did have kind of a change of heart after The Walking Dead, as far as those go. So, that's pretty much zombies. Now, this did get more into voodoo than I thought it would, because to me, that's the real deal. Those are the real zombies out there. I suppose a pandemic could happen that would cause most of the people that are exposed to whatever pandemic this is to die and come back as flesh-eating, mindless zombies is a possibility. But with voodoo, you've got documented cases of zombies, of people dying and 30 years later being seen on the street. That's pretty remarkable, if you ask me. So this one, to me, really isn't an opinion one. I actually believe the reports in Serpent on the Rainbow and the woman who did her case study before that. And I'm telling you, talking to some of these guys, because of my misspent youth, I have a pretty good BS meter and can catch a grifter or a con pretty quick. These guys aren't that. I did have a case where somebody had been claiming to be a Bakur, and the mother of a young woman wanted me to go talk to him and put him in his place, kind of thing. And I was like, kind of beyond the pale when it comes to paranormal investigations, but all right. So I went out there, and to my horror, he was a gangbanger that was using the Voodoo Bakur thing as kind of his thing to scare people and get what he wanted. And I, despite how I might look with the beard and the tattoos and all that stuff, I'm not Billy Badass. I taught Aikido for 6 years. That doesn't mean anything. So I was a little nervous confronting this guy. And I ended up just telling him, I know this guy, Papa, I won't say it on here, but who's a real deal up in Seattle. And I think he'll be really interested to know what you're doing here just to get money, that you're not actually a Bakur, that you're just, touting that. And it shut down his operation without me having to get physical at all, which is always a wonderful thing. So that's zombies, and way too much more because I rambled a bit tonight. I can't tell you how much I enjoy doing this again. I love doing these shows for you guys. Please check out my youngest son's YouTube channel. It's Prepped Ghost. He's got over 100 subscribers. He needs as many as he can get. If you like this at all, please subscribe. And comment and like below. And please comment. Tell me what you guys want to hear. I got 6 episodes coming up that I'm filming for the radio show. But I'm also going to be doing a lot of other shows. Now, I was down sick for almost a month with the crud. So I'm back and going. I'm going to be doing a show, a release every Sunday at 3 is when it'll come on the air, for the most part. That'll be the regular schedule, though. And then we'll be doing some short things in the middle of the week as well. So, again, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I hope everybody has a fantastic night. And as always, you keep those heads up, my brothers and sisters. Have a good night.